Hey there, everyone. Grab a tissue or two because the story I'm about to share is a real tearjerker. I'm Sophie, 25, female, and I feel like it's time for me to share what happened to me. I apologize in advance if this story is too depressing, but it's so crazy that I had to share it. I'm still reeling from it myself, to be honest. So let's dive in, shall we? Picture this. I was 18 and head over heels in love with my high school sweetheart, Ethan. Yeah, I know, people said we were too young, but that didn't stop us. We tied the knot and thought we had it all figured out. Fast forward a few years and there we were, living our lives as a married couple, doing all the couple of things. Things were great, and I knew that I could accomplish anything with my ride or die right by my side. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you. One day, out of the blue, Ethan was gone. A car accident took him away from me, from his family, from everyone who loved him. It hit me like a freight train, the news, the grief, the overwhelming feeling that I was suddenly alone. For a while, I was lost in a sea of sadness. My days were dark and it felt like a heavy cloud was hanging over me, making it hard to breathe. Ethan had been my rock, my everything, and now he was gone. The funeral was beautiful. All of us were brought closer by the whole ordeal. The coroner said that his body was so damaged and burnt up that they had to cremate him. Each of us, me, my sister-in-law and mother-in-law, as well as other family members, got the chance to get a little piece of Ethan with us. I decided to put him into a necklace that I'd never take off so that he'd be close to me in some way. About a month after his passing, I found myself in bed, a mess of tears and memories. It was one of those moments when the weight of the world was just too much to bear. This was the norm. I even quit my job because nothing felt worth living anymore. So yeah, one day I was in bed wallowing as was custom, and then, like a lightning bolt, my phone started buzzing like crazy. I glanced at the caller ID and there it was, Linda, my sister-in-law. Hello? Come and open the door, I'm here. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. Here I was, a mess of emotions, and Linda's angry voice was the last thing I expected. I dragged myself out of bed, wiped my tears, and stumbled to the front door. There she was, arms crossed, looking like she meant business. Linda, what's going on? Look, Sophie, I know he's here somewhere. I don't know why he would do this to us, but I know he's here. So there I was, staring at Linda in utter confusion and disbelief. I thought for a moment that maybe the grief had gotten to her, that maybe she had lost her marbles. Linda, you can't seriously think that Ethan is here, right? He's gone, you know this. Come and sit, let's talk about this. But Linda was adamant, like a detective on a mission. She looked me in the eye and said she didn't know what to believe anymore. So I sighed, asked her to sit down again, and attempted to make her understand that Ethan was no longer with us, that he was really truly gone. Linda, it's been a month. Ethan passed away and we have to accept that. I don't know what you're accusing me of, but I can't play along with this. Grief can mess with our heads, I know that, but we can't let it make us imagine crazy things. We can't let it take control. Linda's voice cracked as she spoke, and for a moment, I saw a vulnerability in her eyes that I hadn't expected. Sophie, don't talk to me like I'm a crazy person. I know what I saw, and I swear to God, if you two thought that this was some funny prank you could pull on us, then you've got another thing coming. Linda, I don't know what you're saying. Please explain. I saw him, Sophie. I saw him at that cafe on 5th Street. It was him. I know it was him. Don't believe me? Let me prove it to you. I took a picture. I felt a chill run down my spine. She pulled out her phone and showed me a picture. A picture that shouldn't exist. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me again. Grief can make us do crazy things, but that wasn't it. This felt too real. Then I thought that it was a doppelganger. People can look like other people, right? But the similarities were too uncanny. I then concluded that that was indeed Ethan, wearing a hoodie, sitting in a cafe. My heart pounded as I looked at the date of the photo, just 2 days ago. What? What is this? How is this even possible? It was like I had seen a ghost. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. And then reality came crashing back and I realized Linda didn't mean to accuse me. She genuinely thought she had seen Ethan alive and well. Sophie, I'm sorry. I really thought that you knew that he was still alive. I actually thought that you helped him fake his death. She was on the verge of tears and I found myself struggling to hold it together too. Linda explained how she had seen Ethan through the cafe window, snapped the picture and sent it to our family group chat. Everyone denied knowing anything about Ethan faking his death except me. I hadn't responded. She thought I was in on it, that I was helping Ethan live this lie. Linda, I swear I had no idea. I thought he was gone. Please tell me everything you know, and I'm sorry for not responding. I haven't responded to messages in a month, Linda, I swear to you. I had no idea about this. I would never do something like this. Tell me everything now. There I was, huddled with Linda, trying to make sense of it all. Linda explained that all she knew was that she had seen Ethan in that cafe, sent the picture to our family chat, and asked if he was pulling some bizarre prank. But now, with what Linda had just revealed, it meant that nobody knew about this. Ethan had lied to everyone. Why would he do something like this? As we clung to each other, tears streaming down our faces, a mixture of sadness and anger began to swell within us. We were left wondering what on earth could drive Ethan to concoct such a stupid ruse. I thought I was losing my mind. I wanted to approach him, but I was scared. That's why I took the picture so others could see what I was seeing, so that I could know for sure that I wasn't just imagining things. At that moment, our shared sadness shifted into something else, a fiery rage that we couldn't suppress. We tossed around speculations like a game of emotional ping pong. Sure, Ethan had been a prankster and had a knack for getting on people's nerves to mess with them, but this was a new low, and we were left grappling with the weight of his actions. I can't believe he would put us through this. What could he possibly have gained from making us think he was dead? Linda's voice trembled as she spoke, her anger mirroring my own, and then, amid our confusion and fury, it hit us like a bolt of lightning. We were way out of our depths here. We couldn't just unravel this on our own. We needed help, professional help. Linda, we can't do this alone. We need to find out the truth, and that means we need to get a private investigator involved. Linda's eyes met mine, and in that gaze we shared a newfound determination. We were going to dig deep, uncover the layers of deception, and finally get the answers we deserved. The roller coaster had taken a wild twist, hurtling us towards a truth that was more complex and shocking than we could have ever anticipated. And, well, we were ready to face whatever lay ahead, with a little help, of course. So, with our newfound determination and Linda's connections, we managed to get ourselves a top-notch private investigator, the real deal. Honestly, if this story were a movie, this is probably where the music would start getting suspenseful. Weeks rolled by and we were getting antsy. I'd received sporadic updates from Linda, but for about 2 weeks, it felt like we were stuck in limbo. I was itching for some resolution, some answers. And then, finally, the private investigator called Linda with a big break. Turns out, Ethan wasn't just chilling somewhere twiddling his thumbs. No, he had gone the whole 9 yards, adopting a new name, let's call him Alex, a new passport, and an entirely new identity. Yeah, we're talking witness protection level stuff. The private investigator managed to get more pictures, and sure enough, it was Ethan, albeit with dyed hair and a clean-shaven face. The disguise might have fooled a casual passerby, but not us, not the people who loved him. Linda and I convened with the family and spilled the tea on what we'd been discovering. The collective reaction was something straight out of a soap opera, you know. The dramatic gasps and raised eyebrows, it was like we were all characters in some wild movie plot. But this was no movie, it was real life, and we needed answers. The PI didn't stop there. He was relentless, trying to uncover the motives behind Ethan's fake death and his new identity. It was like peeling back layers of an onion, and each discovery just led to more questions. And then another breakthrough. The PI reported that Alex, had a hangout spot, a lounge he'd frequent during the week. He seemed harmless, not engaging in any dangerous activities, so the PI reassured us that it was safe to approach him. We were on guard, trust me, 911 on speed dial and everything. Linda and I put our heads together, making a plan to finally confront Alex, and get to the bottom of this mess. We had so many questions, and we were hoping against hope that our crazy theory was wrong, that we were somehow mistaken about everything. But at the same time, there was an undeniable thrill coursing through our veins. It was time to face the ghost that had returned from the dead. And well, let's just say we were as ready as could be. So there we were, Linda and I, stepping into that lounge like we were two characters from some suspense movie. We scanned the place, and there he was, lurking in the shadows, nursing a sad-looking bear. Alex, was cornered, and he knew it. Those widened eyes spoke volumes as he realized who was confronting him. Two very pissed-off women who needed explanations pronto. The moment, Ethan stammered, "I can explain." Linda's hand met his face in a satisfying slap. Thankfully, there weren't many patrons around, and this lounge looked pretty seedy anyway, so we weren't drawing much attention. He blinked in surprise and regained his composure enough to mutter, "I guess I deserved that." But let me tell you, any composure we were trying to maintain evaporated into thin air as Linda and I unleashed a verbal assault. We didn't hold back, demanding to know just what the heck he thought he was doing. Honestly, the situation was so absurd, it felt like we were living in a sitcom, except nobody was laughing. Then came the sobbing. Ethan's defenses crumbled, and he confessed that he dug himself into a hole so deep, he wasn't sure how he would get out. He messed up, and he knew it. I could hardly believe my ears as he spilled the beans. He'd been having an affair with some valley girl named Stacy. You know the type, partying hard, doing drugs, hitting up underground fight clubs. The whole shebang. Things escalated real fast when Stacy turned up pregnant. Ethan tried to bail, but this girl, Stacy, was no pushover. She had a billionaire daddy who would kill for her, so he wasn't exactly the warm and fuzzy type. She threatened to make Ethan's life a living hell if he didn't play nice and build a nice life with her because she wanted to be wifed up. Just when I thought the crazy train had reached its final stop, Ethan hit us with the grand finale. He looked at me, guilt plastered all over his face, and mumbled out an apology. He explained that he was sorry, not just for the affair, but for faking his own death and dragging me into this chaotic mess. I was stunned, furious and heartbroken all at once. It's like I couldn't process the whirlwind of emotions that hit me. And then, without even thinking, My fist met his cheek, and the sound echoed through the lounge. It was the punch heard round the world, or at least around that lounge. And in that moment, I wasn't sure whether to scream, cry, or storm out of there. All I knew was that this crazy saga was far from over. So there we were, facing Ethan, or Alex, or whatever he wanted to call himself now. I could hardly wrap my head around the mess he dragged us all into. Linda's eyes bored into him, and she finally asked $1 million question. "Are you serious, Ethan?" He looked back at her with a mixture of guilt and desperation, and all he could manage to say was, "They're gonna chop off my jewels, Lynn. I had to run away and I couldn't put you guys in danger. That's why I'm laying low. That's why I faked my death so that you could all be rid of me and my stupidity. I knew you'd all do just fine without me." "That's not your call to make, Ethan. We loved you. We mourned you. And you did this to us? Tell me why I shouldn't kill you myself. Please, you have to understand. How did you even come up with the money to accomplish all of this? To make it seem so real?" Reality sunk in as he began to explain how he'd managed to orchestrate this entire insane charade. He spilled the beans, revealing that Stacy was somewhat of a sugar mama to him, and so she'd give him insane amounts of cash, which he used to fund his little disappearing act. The car wreck, the stories in the news, even the coroner's report, all of it was staged. And then he'd used the money to create a whole new identity for himself. I couldn't help but ask, why stick around in the city if you knew you were in danger? Why not flee to another country? Or something? Ethan sighed, a mix of frustration and resignation on his face. He explained that the plan had been to meet up with the guy who was supposed to help him escape the country, right here in this very lounge, but the guy hadn't shown up yet. According to Ethan, this connect didn't do phones to avoid exposure. He told Ethan to show up at the bar every night for a week, and he'd eventually make an appearance. I scoffed at his explanation. And what if this guy never shows up? What if you get caught and you get your precious jewels chopped off like you said? Ethan just shook his head, his eyes welling up with tears again. "I'm so sorry, Sophie. Please, you have to believe me. I messed up big time, but I never wanted any of this. I'll be waiting for you in the car, Sophie. I can't do this anymore." "Linda, please, I know you're upset, but please understand where I'm coming from. How about we rewind to last month when you were dead? Because there's no way that I'm going to accept you now. You're dead to me, Ethan. I hope that they catch you." She just got up and walked away. Ethan called out after her, his voice desperate, but she left him there with me. As for me, I wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. I still had questions burning in my mind, so I looked him dead in the eyes and asked, "Why did you cheat on me, Ethan?" He looked down at his hands, tears falling onto the table as he tried to find the words. It was a messy mix of apologies, guilt, and regret. He didn't have a good excuse, just admitted that he was weak and got caught up in something he should never have let happen. At that moment, as I stared at the man I'd once called my husband, I realized that the story was far from over. The mess he'd created was bigger than any of us could have imagined, and the web of lies and deception was unraveling in ways I could hardly comprehend. Walking out of that bar, leaving Ethan behind with his tears and his guilt, I was so furious that I could barely see straight. The anger churned within me like a storm that threatened to consume everything. I got back to the car, slammed the door shut, and gripped the steering wheel so tight. My knuckles turned white. I muttered to myself, "He's going to pay for this. He's going to regret the day he ever cheated on me." And so, with that determination fueling my actions, I did the unthinkable. The next day, I tipped off the tabloids about the entire insane situation, how my supposedly dead husband had faked his own death just to escape the consequences of his actions, as well as providing them with pictures from the PI. The story spread like wildfire through the city. After all, it's not every day that you hear about someone faking their own death, especially not for something so absurd as evading a cheating scandal. I didn't hold back. I laid it all out there for the world to see, how I had been the loving and devoted wife, only to discover that my husband had played me like a fool. The tabloids ate it up, and soon the entire city was buzzing about the tale of the man who faked his own death. With the help of the PI, Ethan's secrets unraveled faster than he could ever imagine. It turned out that his grand plan was crumbling because his connect wanted nothing to do with him once his wife had blown his cover. And just like that, Ethan went from being a man who faked his death to avoid consequences to a man who was publicly exposed for his lies and deceit. Ethan's world quickly crumbled around him. He became a social outcast, shunned by his family and friends, his reputation in tatters. It seemed like justice was served. But then, just as suddenly as he'd reappeared into our lives, Ethan vanished once again. This time it felt more permanent, like he'd been swallowed up by the very lie he'd created. Rumors swirled, but it seemed like his past had finally caught up to him, this time in a way that even he couldn't escape. Linda and I were left wondering about his fate, whether he was even alive or not, whether he was finally facing the consequences he tried so hard to evade. I mean, when you mess with billionaires, anything can happen. Maybe they had him locked in a dungeon somewhere, jewels missing so that he could never escape again. In the end, all I could feel was a strange sense of relief. I had exposed the truth, no matter how messy or unbelievable it was. And for that, I was grateful because it meant I could restart my life without any drama and mess.